So welcome to 8.3, the coordinate plane. All right, so you don't have to copy this picture, just describe where points A, B, C, and D are, and how long line segment BC is. That's all you got to do. Okay, so point A is you have to come down here to X first. So the way you write these is X before Y, just like alphabetical order, in parentheses, with a comma between. All that is important. So you come down here, get the 2 first. X always comes before Y. So you're always going here first. Then Y equals 4. So A is at 2, 4, right? 4, 2 is in a totally different place. That's why the order totally matters. Okay. So find the rest of them you haven't. Well, B is at 3, 8. 3, comma 8. But you don't have to say the comma, just say 3, 8. C 6, 8, right? Same exact Y coordinate. This is called the Y coordinate. The X is called the X coordinate. And X comes before Y, and D is at 9, and that's 5, halfway between 4 and 6 at 9, 5. How long is line segment BC? All right, it is 1, 2, 3 units long. Now, if you thought 4, you're thinking like you count the intersections. No, you count how many squares long it is. It's 3 squares long, right? So if you go 1, 2, 3, it's 3 moves long as well. If you got 4, what you probably did was count that dot as 1. No, that's not the way it is at all. Right? It's 3 squares long. It's 3 units long. All right, so this is called the first quadrant of the coordinate plane. Notice everything was positive. There were no negative numbers in it. The first quadrant is the easy quadrant, okay? All right, but so the first, we were just over here at the first quadrant, okay? And it turns out there are 4 quadrants in the coordinate plane. And there is also an x-axis and a y-axis. So there are 6 locations. And we will go over the 6 locations in a second. All right, so what you just did in the warm-up is called an ordered pair, right? When you buy a pair of shoes, pair doesn't just mean 2. It means like you buy a pair of shoes, you can't buy 2 left shoes. They won't let you. You have to buy a left and a right. In ordered pairs, you have to have an X and a Y, like a left and a right, and they have to be in the right order. We call things the right very accurately in math. This is called an ordered pair because it's a pair and order matters. And the X part, when you write X, you're saying that's the X coordinate, all right? And the X coordinate always goes first. All right, so we're still in the first quadrant. So you're going to tell me where all these points are. So E is at 10, 10, but this 10 down here is the first 10, okay? And then yes, notice that 10 is missing from there. Why? Because Y is in the way. That happens a lot in graphs. Okay, F, you have to come all the way down here to 1 and get the 1 first, then you put the 9. It's not which one ever you see first or which one's closer. You always go to X first. G, all right, G, you have to come down and get this 0. So this is at 0, 6. And that is on this y-axis. When you have a 0, you're going to be on an axis. H is at 4, 5. The 4 has to go first. The 5 goes second. Notice we skip I. We tend to skip O. I looks like 1. O looks like 0. J is 7 and 3. 7, 3. K is right there at 0, 0. Okay. And L is at 9. You get the 9 from X, and then you go all the way over and get the 0. 9, 0. And that's on the X-axis, it's called. Okay, so here's the whole coordinate plane. Now, I want you to draw a little sketch of this. So for you, you're going to draw a Y and an X like that. Okay, and then so we're going to start with point E. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it's at 8, 1. And then you're going to put that it's a 8, 1 like that. All right. Okay, and notice that I do not go and start making a grid. or buy graph paper. Do not do that for this unit. You can make little sketches at home. The grid will be on the homework. Okay? All right. So before we do, so you're making your little sketch there, but the quadrants are I to IV. What the heck is that? All right, well, hopefully you know that there's this thing called Roman numerals. In Roman numerals, I is 1, 2 I's in a row is 2, 3 I's in a row is 3. Now 4 is not the same way. The Romans thought that V was 5. And so what they thought was 4 was 1 less than 5, IV. So that's what the quadrants are. And so this is where we were, quadrant 1, and it goes counterclockwise, the opposite of a clock. And so this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. We have labeled the 4 quadrants, and you're required to know where those are for the test. That's not a small detail. Okay, now, all right, so now you're going to give all the ordered pairs. Sorry, I sort of jumped ahead. When you make your sketch, you're going to show where all these ordered pairs are. So E, I already said, was at 8, 1. All right, F, so you have to get the number from X first. So F is -2, 5. Okay. G, again, now you have to go up to the x-axis. You always get the first number from here, from X, -7, and then it's over to -3. And H, you go up to X and get a 4, and then we go over to Y-axis and you get the -4. Now, besides the quadrants, what you should notice here that each quadrant has a different combination of pluses and minuses. So let's start with that. Where we started was quadrant 1. Both coordinates are plus. Please write this on your sketch. All right. Quadrant 3 down here is where both things are negative. Okay. Quadrant 3, both, oops, not -1, just negatives, all right, are both negative. Quadrant 2 starts with a negative and ends with a positive. Quadrant 4 starts with a positive and ends with a negative. Okay? And those are the 4 different quadrants. Quad, the prefix quad means what? Means 4. So literally it's telling you there's 4 sections. Now, the axes are the fences between the quadrants. They are not in the quadrants. They are the fences between the 4 quadrants. Okay? And the whole thing together is called the coordinate plane because it's made up of X coordinates and Y coordinates. And that thing is called a what? It's called an ordered pair. A lot of vocabulary. You have to be able to plot the points and know the vocabulary. All right, so this is a weird plural. The plural of a axis with an I is axes. You pronounce that axes. It is spelled the same as the axes you chop with. And so that is the y-axis and that is the x-axis. And you have 2 of them. You have axes. Now, we are now going to find if a point is on an axis, it is going to have a 0 in it. It's going to have a 0 in it. So let's start with J. J, you get the number from X first, and then you go over and get the 0. When you do the coordinate plane, you just have the 1, 0 for both the X and Y axis shown. All right, and for K, K is the hard one because, right, there's 9 right there, but you have to, it's right next to you, but you have to go down and get this 0 first, right, because 9 0 is way over there, right, so it's 0, 9. L, you get the -4 from X first, then the 0, because it goes up 0 or down 0. M, you go up and get the 0 first, and then you put the -5. And then O is at the beginning of this graph. All right, so the coordinate plane begins at 0, 0. And that's why there's arrows. In your sketch, and by the way, you're making a sketch of this, if you haven't already, just like the last one. Right, so your sketch should look, it's not that hard. You put a little X there, you put a little Y there, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's J, and you put that, and you're going to put 0, 9 there. And then L, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't go in order just because I was on the X-axis. There's L at -4, 0. And there's O at 0, 0. And then K is up there. I'm not going to finish it, but you get the idea. Okay, and that should take you less than 30 seconds, 45 seconds. You do not have to be super neat. You have to always be super nice, but be able to read it. Okay, now 0, 0, where this graph begins, has a special name. It's a word that starts with O, and it means the beginning. And it is also the same thing the first comic book in a series is called, where the superhero gets its powers. And this name is the origin. Okay? In a comic book where the superhero gets his powers, it's called the origin story, the beginning. That is the beginning of the graph. And the graph does not end at 10. It goes on forever. That's why the arrows are there. The grid ends at 10. But in a second, you'll be plotting something like 11, 0. You just put it right where 11, 0 would go. Okay? All right, so questions about that. Now, this is on the x-axis. It's not in a quadrant. This is on the y-axis. This one is, so when they end in a 0, they're on the x-axis. When they start with a 0, they're on the y-axis. They're not in any of the quadrants. And the origin is on both the x and y axis. It's not in any quadrant. Okay, so you're just going to write, you don't have to sketch this one. You just have to write down, look at the screen and write down all the coordinates. So P is at 5, 0, right? X is 5, Y is 0. X coordinate first from the x-axis, Y coordinate second. Q is at 1, 9. R is at -4, 4. S is at -6, +8. T is at -9, -2. U is at -2. You have to do X first, -5. V is at 1, -3. And W is at 7, -4. All right, so now you're going to have to make a sketch. So because you're going to plot these points. Okay, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, right? And then you're going to put a little A there. Okay, so I'm going to do it on the grid. So 5, 1, and you put an A. Okay, all right, now put B. So that would be 5, -3, and you would put B. So 5, -3 is B. I'm going to do it on the grid now. You do it on your sketch. C, -7, 6. So X is -7, Y is 6 is up there. So you just make enough tick marks to get up to 6 like that. D is at -7, -4. Well, we already have enough tick marks, hopefully, to get out to -7. And we're going down to -4. Oops, I should be putting the letters C and D. You should too. E is at -1, -10 down there. F, and so by the way, notice there's no magic where you put the letter. You put the letter anywhere around the point. Doesn't matter. You know, the coordinates are where the point is. F is at -4, 0. G, 0 for X. Y is -3. So it starts with a 0, has to be on the y-axis. Right? Ends in a 0, has to be on the x-axis. Okay. All right, so now, same thing. You don't have to copy this one, but you have to make a t-table. This is called a t-table. Hopefully you can guess why it's called that, because it looks like the letter T. And we're just going to show our points. Let's do them in alphabetical order. So let's start with H. So H is 5, 0. All right, so you're not labeling it in the table which one is which, but you're putting the points in this table. J is 0, 7. I skip I because it's 1. K, -5, 9. L, -5, -6. So we've shown our ordered pairs a different way in a t-table. And notice the y side's a little longer than the x side. Yes, that's intentional because we're going to be in later lessons using the t-table to actually do work right there. So we wanted a little longer than the other side. All right, so this is what I said in the warm-up. To count boxes, make sure you can count boxes. So how long is ST? ST is 1 unit long. That's what 1 looks like. And yeah, there's 2 dots, but that doesn't matter. It's 1 box long. Okay, so that means the other 2, UV, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is 6 units long. Right, because we don't have inches or anything here. And WZ, now do WZ. Well, here's a hint. 1, 2, the way I would do WZ, I'd do 3 and I get to the y-axis. Then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I know 3 plus 7 is 10 units long. And notice, even though that was over in the negative area, that doesn't matter. It's 3 boxes long. And so it's a total of 10 units long. And that can be helpful for long ones. You just count to the nearest axis and then count the other side of the axis and add them up. A little shortcut. All right, so let's practice. You're going to have to make a sketch here. So plot the points 2, 4, -5, 4, -5, -7, 2, -7. Okay, there they are. Oh, I should have labeled them. There's A, B, C, D. Okay. Label the quadrant of each point. All right, so this is in quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've never ever seen Roman numerals before, then you may use regular Arabic numerals. That's the 1, 2, 3, 4 we use. It's just for addition, that's all that is. All right, so now draw a rectangle ABCD and find the perimeter. Ooh, okay, so we're going to draw a rectangle, right? So A, B, C, D, right? Back to A to complete the rectangle. Now we have to find the perimeter. Perimeter is the length around the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? We're going from 2, 4 to -5, 4, and notice that is 7 units long, right? Now, if this is 7 units long, there's a rule of rectangles that says the opposite side is also has to be 7 units long. If that was, say, 6, it would be a different shape, a different quadrilateral, a different 4-sided figure. All right, so then I'm going to count this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 I'm getting. And let's see, I can verify that. I'm going from -4 down to -7. From -4 to -7 does make sense. That's 11 units long. And I have 2 of those. So the perimeter is all those added up. That's 22. That's 14. I could add these in any order. And it's 36 units long. All right, plot these points. I'm showing them in a table. X, by the way, is always on the left. We never trick you or anything. 5, 0 is the first point. -6, 0 is the second point. -6, -7 is down here. -1, or I guess we're not making a rectangle this time. Oops, -1, +7 up there, right? And 0, -8 is down there. Which points are not in a quadrant? All right. The ones not in a quadrant are all the ones with 0, right? This one starts with 0, y-axis, right? That's this one right here. These two end with 0, x-axis. This one over here, I didn't ask it, is in quadrant 2. This one is in quadrant 3. All right, what are the 6 points a point can be in the coordinate plane? 6 points, 6 places, right? It can be in quadrants 1 through 4, and the x and y. And if you're going to write it this way, you're going to use the plural, axes. That's 6 locations. All right, origin is not a 7th location. The origin is on both the x and y axis. Good luck on the homework.